All right, call this meeting to order. Slight pivot, we do not have a quorum today, or
Mr. Chairman, due to a lack of quorum, this will just be an informational meeting. No action will be taken during this meeting.
very good. Appreciate it, Mr. Senna. All right, we're going to change a little bit on the agenda because Kelly has to be out in just a minute, but so we'll go ahead and move up to, I guess we're not going to approve agenda, approve minutes, so we will, what is your social, digital, PR, creative report?
Carrie was conveniently sick today, so.
On the side.
There we go. Oh,
Very sensitive.
there we go. Okay. So our report is a pretty standard report that we do every month. I didn't know if you guys had any questions. I can just touch on some of the things briefly. Obviously, the big spike in April was related to the fire. We went ahead and included April in the report, even though that this is just to review the last quarter, January through March. But yeah, up across the board, basically on everything. And like I said, most of that was related to the fire. And you can see some of the top performing posts were all related to the fire. And then along with visits to the website, we were up 60% year over year for visits, and again, related to the fire. Search is up, so this first part of the presentation is all related to the municipality website. And so people searching for Rio Doso, also probably related to the fire. The top homepage, the homepage remains the same, being the top page visited during that time. So no real change or surprise there for top pages for the municipality. And in terms of some of our other stuff we worked on this month, and I'm not actually seeing my tourism presentation in your packet. That's just the municipality. So then, yeah, going into the printed newsletter, we distributed close to 8,000 copies of it each month. That's just an example of one of the latest ones. And we've received good feedback on those. Some other work we did during the last quarter was related to the municipal office elections. The GO bond was also on that. Any questions related to that before I pivot into the McBride fire info? Yeah, snow and fire helps most things, unfortunately, on the internet. So in terms of the McBride fire, Carrie and myself and Mira were we provided over 500 updates. So that's like private messages, comments, posts to both the municipality and the tourism pages during that time. We set up the McBride fire page until we handed that over to the Type 1 team and took over. We also provided daily press briefings at the community center and conducted over 57 interviews with media, and continue to provide some of that information. So if you go to the next page, one of the ways that we got information out to residents was using the Discover Rio Doso app. And so we were able to geofence in a 30-mile radius, and so alert people that fell within that. And you can see the stats there. Basically just telling people where to go to get information about the McBride fire. We also updated the screen there, or the sign there at the swimming pool, and then set up a landing page on the village website that has all the information related to the fire itself and to where residents can find resources. The next couple slides are just the overall media coverage during the time of the fire, both national and international. you know, it was unfortunate that, you know, when you find yourself on CNN, so it was a rough couple days, but, you can see the big increase there and that overall value. So the next page, I know you guys have seen some of these pages before in terms of the overall sentiment, and usually most of our stuff's pretty neutral. And so, being that it was a natural disaster, that's why it skews the overall sentiment more negative. You know, like with any natural disaster, it's not surprising that people are looking to social to get kind of that latest info, and so that's why there's that big spike there for online. But also in terms of coverage for TV, it's also listed there, and you can see, so for our own channels, we're most active and have the largest following on Facebook. During times of crisis like that, people tend to turn to Twitter to get kind of up to the minute information. And that's where a lot of news organizations provide that also, and so that's why there's that big spike there for Twitter. And you can see kind of the breakdown of different media outlets, and then what their overall, like if we were to buy ads on their station or their outlet, like what that value would be. And then we have the overall word cloud that has related to the McBride fire. Do you guys have the tourism stuff in your packet? Okay. I can just talk about it briefly. Again, related to the fire, we saw an increase basically across the board on everything. So don't be alarmed when the next quarter's report is down. That's just because we had an extreme event that increased all of that. So I don't think there's any reason to be alarmed. Looking at just even the fiscal year to date, we're above year over year from the last year, in terms of followers and impressions and likes and all of that. In terms of kind of going forward, just so you guys know, today is my last lodger's tax meeting, and tomorrow's my last day with the agency. But you guys are in good hands, obviously, with Carrie and Mira and the entire agency team, so they'll be providing those updates going forward. But I appreciate, and I've enjoyed working with you guys the last couple of years and in the village in general, so thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and we'll make sure you get the tourism report, just so you have it. Thank you.
I'll let you, it's kind of a funny story. Lynn was in there too, maybe Mayor Crawford. When we had that meeting with the cabinet secretaries, and was it the article was it the El Paso Fox news station?
K-Fox.
K-Fox. That had really kind of made it sound like this place was on fire and everything was terrible. And we got out of that meeting, and I had a guest that came this past week that had emailed and was wanting discounts and this and that, and your town shut down, and whatever. And so I emailed him back and said that article was kind of, a little bogus. Well, he got here and was amazed, loved his time here, couldn't believe it. So he emailed that reporter and said, you lied. And she said, I really got a lot of bad feedback on that. So hopefully she'll try to make it up. But yeah, he went out of his way to email the reporter and say that was a terrible article and terrible reflection of Ruidoso. So
I know that in Elizabeth's report, she'll cover some of the recovery readiness and some of the next steps that we're taking in terms of advertising, and just as we move into the summer months. Some of the, just kind of looking, I wanted to just see if there's anything that I missed talking about in terms of on the tourism side. Obviously, some of the ads you guys have already seen and we've talked about for the last quarter in terms of utilizing that El Paso billboard, and then obviously we were in a winter and spring break mode, the Ruidoso Outdoor Expo. Now we've moved more so into summer, like the Tucson buses, that creative has flipped to summer. All of our focus going into the summer is related more so to Party in the Pines. We did a big push for Cinco de Mayo for that celebration. And, in terms of some other campaigns, we obviously have our summer commercial, and so to kind of go off of what you were mentioning there, Alan, that's kind of how we flipped the messaging a little bit, like, we're open for summer, plan your visits, you know, we're not burning down. We get a lot of questions about that, like, what's the status of the fire? And just our response right now is there's not, except for Tim totally ruined my statement by saying yesterday there was a fire in Lincoln, because I've been saying at this time there's no fires currently burning in Lincoln County. You know, I know there was one over in by the Sacramento Ranger District yesterday, but that's not in Lincoln County. But and then I believe the one in Corona is also out. It's interesting though, because for the municipality side during the fire, for the last quarter, the highest performing posts were all obviously related to the fire. But even on the tourism pages, in terms of impressions, they were still related more so to snow and our general tourism. We did have one post, and we made that conscious decision to very much have the municipality page be very information and, you know, graphic driven, and then keeping the tourism page where if you went to our page, it wouldn't even look like necessarily there was a fire. Yes, we put out some information there in the very beginning, just because it has a larger following. But if you look at our Instagram page, it's very much still like just pretty pictures. And so we made that decision because we didn't want it to have kind of that long-term impact, because we ran into that with Little Bear previously. The other thing that we continue to utilize are Reels and TikTok posts, and I know that kind of going forward and into summer, Mira has an overall plan for those and a posting strategy for those. So we'll continue to be active there. Our traffic to the website for the tourism site continues to increase year over year. One of the things, though, that we have seen in terms of geographic to the tourism site, Texas, we've seen a 26% increase over January to April compared to last year. New Mexico's up, Arizona's up. It's interesting though, because in Arizona, we saw a small increase in the Tucson market, but most of the increases become from Phoenix. And so moving into next fiscal, that was one of the decisions we decided was not to do the buses, but focus just more on digital in that market, based because we didn't have the data to back up that buy. They're still coming from California. Oklahoma, we've seen a pretty big increase, but that kind of rounds out the top 5. And in terms of acquisitions to the overall site, on the tourism side, organic search continues to remain high, and then also direct search. Social was up year over year. Traffic to the webcam is still the highest, along with calendar of events, lodging, attraction. Information on marijuana becoming legalized in New Mexico is in the top 10. And you know, like, that's actually kudos to Ellen and our web team for jumping on that and making sure it ranked high for SEO purposes, to get that information out there timely, you know, right when April 1st hit. And then related to just other, you know, condos, vacation rentals, campgrounds. So people are looking for activities, wanting to see what things look like, and really planning their overall visits. And I'm sorry you guys don't have the visuals on these, because it was a good quarter for creativity and creative. So, any questions? Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Thanks again to all the work that goes on this, on the McBride fire. You know, we're from Abilene, and Abilene just had a 10,000 acre fire that got pretty wild, and it was kind of interesting to watch, because you had their mayor doing updates, and he told one night, he said, you know, Buffalo Gap is fine
off social for the month
Yeah.
of June. I need a detox. It's been a rough couple of years.
All right, moving back up to the top, the financial report. This is our, or do you want to?
However you want to do it. I just put your report in.
I thought somebody had to go before me, but,
Kelly did.
just Kelly, okay. So, for the ending month of April, the total monthly collections were 245,200. So that, right now, total collections year-to-date are 2.2 million, which is, way over the budgeted amounts that we had. So with 2 more months going, for May and June, we're gonna, definitely exceed, our budgeted amounts. As far as expenditures, you can see all the payments we've made through the end of April. Overall, we've spent 2.5 million, and we have another $385,000 already encumbered in outstanding POs. And in the bank at the end of April was 1.9 million in lodger's tax. So, if you have any other questions.
So we may have enough for an end-of-year pizza party. That's awesome. And the April numbers are from March, it's always the
Yes, they're on a month lag, so,
flag. Cool. That's an amazing number.
right?
Good morning. Always appreciate being right after the financial report. Just kidding.
Today he can't ask you for money, though. That's true.
He'd rather go to the end so he can sit there and think about it.
So during the last quarter, we were extremely busy. We had a lot of activities going on and started some new activities. So we had our first ever Smart Start basketball program, which was basketball for pre-K. We had a lot of participation. We had 2 separate classes, and the families really, really enjoyed it. And I think she can attest to it. I saw her there.
My kids loved it.
We also hosted our 4th through 8th grade basketball league, which is included over 150 kids. It's a really big program. That program is actually so big, the youth basketball, that we split it up into 2 seasons. We do the 1st through 4th in the before December, and then after the new year, we do the 5th through 8th. We participated in a job fair at ENMU during that time to try to recruit people for our summer positions and our full-time vacancies. Let's see, this was our 2nd season of soccer, so this was the spring soccer portion of the 1st year of the Village of Ruidoso running soccer. Again, it's another big program, and I guess all the youth sports are very big programs. There's a lot of coordination that goes into it. It just recently completed, I believe last week, was the final championship games. During March, we hosted the Outdoor Expo. We had really good participation from vendors. It was well received by the community. We had a lot of local vendors as well as vendors from all over New Mexico. We'll look at continuing that one in the future and building upon that success. We hosted our annual Walk the Links. We had 48 runners. The registration fee for that one is food that we donate to the food bank, so we had a really good turnout for that. Dynamic Discs hosted a spring disc golf tournament. They had over 160 players during that. That's always a challenging just because it's so early in the year, but it's been well received. During the winter, we actually offered swim lessons. We partnered with the RAC. We only offered the Water Babies class, but we had a couple different classes on that as well, because during our summer season, we can't accommodate lessons for everyone who wants them. So again, we approached the RAC with a partnership. We gave them a portion of the proceeds from the registration, and we had a couple classes during that time as well. Let's see. During the fire, our staff was busy. Some of us were reassigned to other duties with the shelter and cutting trees, and also our recreation staff continued with the Easter egg hunt and the Easter bunny run. We did see a lower turnout, and I'm sure it was due to the fire, but the kids still enjoyed it, the people that did show up. We also actually spent the next 2 days through the weekend at the shelter at the convention center, handing out eggs and prizes to families and kids that showed up at the shelter. And then this year we also hosted, restarted our adult volleyball league. We had 13 teams, and also we completed that season as well. Again, it's a very popular league. I think we've had a little bit of a hiatus in running adult leagues, but the community really enjoyed that. We're currently taking registration for the adult kickball. And we're soliciting teams. I think we have 3 signed up at this time, but there's opportunity if you all know anyone who wants to get in adult sports. And then we hosted, again, multiple special events through the quarter. Again, I mentioned we participated in the ENMU Job Fair, the Outdoor Expo, the Easter egg hunt at Cedar Creek. We also hosted a glow-in-the-dark disc golf tournament. This past weekend, we had 20 participants. We hosted an archery shoot last weekend as well, and had around 30 participants. And that's one of a series of archery tournaments we have. And then one of the department's community activities we hosted was the Great American Cleanup, which had a really good turnout of adults and kids. What we're currently working on, working on installing the water park at Grindstone Lake. We're working on preparing the pool for opening. The first day is this Saturday. And so the footprint of the Whibbit will be the biggest layout that we've had to date. So it'll have the one continuous piece as well as 3 individual pieces, the iceberg, the slide, and then a climbing wall. Really looking forward to a busy summer, and with the temperatures, I think we're going to be very popular. So everything will open up Saturday, and I don't anticipate any issues with opening. We had really good success with hiring all the temporary staff to support those, and looking forward to a busy summer. I'll entertain any questions if y'all have any. Right.
Way down the road. Did that cut down on the summer line?
So we've moved to all online registrations a few years back, and it did, so all of the classes right now, I think we offer 12 different classes. They're all full. Well, I take that, there's one that is not full, and it happens to be that class that we offered the multiple classes. But we have, I think out of the 120 available spaces, we only have 4 spaces left out of 120, and they happen to be in the Water Babies class. So it did, I think that was a group that we were able to, to offer more, and obviously it was,
Do you think you'll start doing some of the kid ones in the winter also, or just keep it to the babies one?
we can consider it. I think the things that we have to work around is the school. When we're offering the classes, they're not in, that age group is not in school. But it's something that we could consider. I know it was well received by the RAC as well. But we can talk about that, especially, so we opened up our swim lessons on May 1st, and here it is, May 23rd, or was it to 24th? And they're practically all full, so it doesn't take long. But we'll look at that. Our pool parties are also available online for registration, as well as Whibbit parties. And something we tried a few years back is we open up 2 parties per night for the entire summer. So there's that option, because that's always a popular thing with families and businesses for celebrations and birthday parties and whatnot.
And the job fair filled up all your openings? You're pretty much staffed?
We're pretty much staffed. Where we're seeing some, where we're not filling are our full-time positions. We've had a lot of luck with the temporary, the seasonal jobs. We've attracted several teachers for the manager positions, and then, of course, the students. I think between the incentive program that we offer for the students and the flexibility and it just being a fun place to work, I think that contributes to getting all those jobs filled. So they're actually pouring yes. So they had a little bit of a delay on the materials for the rebar, so that set them back a little bit. And then last week they had a broke down pump truck, but they're out there today pouring the concrete. So the schedule is to let it cure, pull the forms, do a little bit of additional work, but it will be open for the weekend. Yes. And then I'm sorry, I apologize. I'll update you on the other projects. The light pole project is like about 90% completed. All the poles are installed. They just need to come back and grout the gap between the base of the pole and the concrete. So they'll be pouring pretty much a concrete layer to fill in that gap. Right. Well.
They look great. They look great. It makes the skyline not so cluttered, I feel like.
Well, with all of the stuff I made, everything's nice and straight now, so it looks great.
And then I'm not sure if you've noticed, but we started the speaker project yesterday as well. So we've had the materials for quite some time, but now that the poles are installed, they started the installation of the computer, the storage cabinet, the transmitters. They had about a third of the speakers up yesterday. The plan is to have all the install completed by tomorrow, end of the day tomorrow, and then we'll be doing some training on how to program, stream the music and upload commercials and that kind of stuff.
Glad that's done, man. I'd go to the rack early in the morning, and you're a creature of habit, and every morning I would leave and say, I gotta remember to turn early. God, boy, you turn right in midtown. Yeah, and turn back around, and then just as I remembered, it got in that one, now Center Street's open again, but it looks great, so. But
That's-
those light poles look terrific.
The Center Street project is nearing completion as well. There's a delay on the moving of the utility poles due to the fire as well. P&M having all to do that work associated with the fire was set back a little bit. So that'll be the next phase of it is moved. There's, I believe, 4 utility poles that have to be moved out of the path of the sidewalk, and then there's 4 small areas that they'll be putting in the sidewalk once they move the poles. Yeah, but it's looking good. Good timing to finish those projects. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Cool, chicken things. All right, Chairman Riches, Member Robertson, thank you for taking the time to get an update today on what's going on at the convention center. It's been a bit of a eclectic quarter, to say the least. We've been doing a lot of different things, some things we weren't expecting to do during that time. But a couple of immediate positive notes. We were able to hire a third full-time convention center technician, Mr. Filbert Candelaria, who's actually worked for the village before, and he's an absolute asset and a great member of our team, and has made our lives a lot easier in terms of accommodating some of the larger groups that we've had as well. So we're really excited about that. And, you know, our staff over there is just fantastic in general between, you know, Bernadine, make sure you put that in the minutes, official. There, she's the best. There you go, it's official. And David and Luis with so much institutional knowledge, and then Tracy with, you know, our collaboration with the Elegante. We're really fortunate to have such a good team. So, we're really excited. We're launching our new booking software. We pretty much have launched it, and Bernadine has jumped in head first, and she probably wants to kill me. But I think it's going to work out. She's shaking her head yes. That's an admission of attempted murder in the minutes there. So we're excited about that. But the biggest benefit of that booking software is that it's really going to help us capture more information about not only who's coming, but potential leads for additional larger groups, A-type groups, and things of that nature. And we can also share that information with folks as well, and push out the schedule. So for instance, Member Cheney, I've already sent him the link, so he has basically an iCal link and knows whatever's coming down the pike at the convention center. And I think we're gonna probably put that out in the Monday morning emails and the FYEs or FYIs, and that way, and once you download it once, it's there. It just automatically updates. Doesn't matter what calendar system you use, if you're Gmail or Outlook or whatever it is, it'll just automatically update and let you know what's going on in the convention center. We were very fortunate. We made some pretty significant capital outlay requests this year, and the governing body saw fit to fund quite a bit of them. So our couple of big projects, we're going to be completely refinishing all of the walls in rooms 4, 5, and 6. Which is a follow-up to a project that was done in the exhibit hall, 2 years ago? A year ago, something like that? Before I was here. So, yeah. So that's really exciting. It desperately needs that update. And then we're also going to be adding acoustical tiles to the exhibit hall. We did an acoustical analysis of it, and we're going to be softening about 20% of the wall space in there, which will help a lot with concerts and things of that nature. Then we're also, we got $90,000 to do some life cycle repairs. The update or renovation of the convention center is 10 years old now? I keep looking at Bernadine. As you can tell, I lean on her a lot for a lot of things. So there's some things that need updating there, and we're going to get some of those things fixed. We're also getting new furniture for the convention center. And we're also, this is kind of a side project, but we're also looking to install an emergency generator. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the McBride fire response. But all those things are going to be happening in relative short order as soon as the new fiscal year starts July 1st. We are going to be, the refinishing of rooms 4, 5, and 6 is a pretty big deal. And so is the acoustical tile installation. So we've already kind of blocked off the end of November into December, which is always a really slow time for us anyway, to get all that work done. So it's not going to be impacting any of our major events or anything like that. So, all right. In terms of events themselves, we have had a pretty busy last 4 months, and I realize this is not the exact quarter. I ended up coming in during the kind of the end of another quarter, and so I'm trying to catch up and get back on the right cycle. But a couple of highlights. We had the Vines and the Pines Wine Festival, and I just want to point that out because I talked to a lot of folks that came to that, and I listed that as an A-type event because there were a lot of folks from out of town. Deborah and her team did a great job on that event, and it was a 2-day event too. So people were staying overnight, and there were a lot of out-of-towners. So I felt confident listing that as kind of an A-type event. We also hosted the New Mexico Republican Primary Convention, had over 1,000 people over the course of 3 days for that. As Rodney said, we did the first ever outdoor expo, which I think is only going to grow as we move forward. And then, of course, we had the McBride fire response and us being used as an evacuation shelter for the first time. The convention center had historically been used as a command center for incidents like this, but this was the first time after its designation as an evacuation center. So that was a unique situation. I'll talk a little bit more about that. We had one of our largest events of the year, our EMS Region 3 conference. They were back for the first time since 2019. Yep, 2019. And it was a great turnout, and they were very happy with the turnout and the reception that Rio Doso gave them, and they will definitely be back in the future. We've had a couple of new events, including a small petroglyph conference and some things of that nature. We're also doing an archaeology conference in June, which is a new event as well. We just hosted the New Mexico Municipal Judges Conference. We have a bunch of other municipal organizations coming in June. But we are pretty booked up from here until we close down to do the remodel. So it's going to be a busy summer for sure. One highlight, and I know Elizabeth will talk more about this, was our hosting of the Cinco de Mayo celebration. That was a completely and totally new event for us in terms of a large-scale concert, and I think it went pretty well from a logistical standpoint. Even without the acoustical enhancements, the sound was pretty good. I was very impressed with everything. The attendance was very good. Our staff, coupled with the Parks and Rec staff, I think handled the new. Like I said, it's something we hadn't done before, so we were all kind of learning as we went, but I think it all turned out very well. We had very few issues, if any, really. And I'm excited about doing some more of those, filling in the calendar as we move forward. So let's see. I'm not going to go over all the revenue, but we've had a good quarter. As you can see, we've had about $57,000 worth of revenue come in to the convention center. And then moving forward to the estimated economic impact, and this again is based on that matrix that the Lodgers Tax Committee has kind of accepted as $302.78 per day per attendee to these A-type groups. And February was a huge month, largely because of that Republican convention. We had, I'd say 85% of the folks that came in for that were from out of town, so that was a huge impact. So altogether, moving forward to the last 4 months, we're looking at somewhere in the realm of $1 to $1.5 million of estimated economic impact from events held at the convention center. So and of course there was that period of the McBride fire that. Actually, it's terrible to say or hard to say, but if it could have happened, it couldn't have happened at a better time, at least for the convention center, because we literally had nothing going on at that point. There was a week where we were going out of one big event, getting ready for another big event, but we were able to accommodate without really pushing any of our guests off. And so we were designated as an official evacuation center for the village of Ruidoso and Lincoln County. We partnered almost immediately with the American Red Cross and the Salvation Army, who came in and helped us to run the evacuation shelter. Our staff and largely the Parks and Rec staff jumped in to help with all of that. We were only a physical evacuation shelter for about 3 days. That's how long we had folks staying with us overnight. Manager Dodge and the incident management team worked really hard to get displaced folks into hotels and better accommodations, as you well know. Thank you again for helping out with that. That means a lot. And they were able to get off of cots and into someplace a little bit more comfortable during a difficult time in their lives. So we transitioned to basically a couple. They have different names for them: convenience centers, family support centers. But for about a week, we were the main location where folks were dropping off goods and donated items, and we were getting them back out to the community. And then a lot of other organizations in town, including the Lincoln County Community Foundation, came in and used the convention center to get checks out to folks. So we did a lot of different things during that time, but altogether, I think it was a good first experience as an evacuation shelter. There's definitely room for improvement, and we've already debriefed about a little bit of that. So should it happen again, hopefully not, we'll be even more prepared the next time. So some of our big upcoming events, actually today, the New Mexico NENA Association is starting, and they have their conference going on. I mentioned this Tularosa Basin Archaeology and History Conference, which is a regional conference. It's going to be in the first weekend of June. But out of that, it looks like we're going to be holding the New Mexico Archaeology Society's meeting, the statewide meeting next year. So it's kind of that grew out of that. We have some of our bigger reoccurring groups coming in, the New Mexico dairy producers, cattle growers, But then we have kind of a new event. They've done it once before. The Ruidoso Tattoo Expo is going to be Father's Day weekend in concert with Party in the Pines. And that looks like it's going to be a really big event. They're doing some really big marketing themselves and in concert with the tourism department and the agency. And I think that's going to be a huge event as well. And then we're excited to bring the New Mexico City Managers Conference in right on the heels of that as well. So a lot of good things going on. And with that, I will stand for questions. Yep. So, I will mention real fast, an update quickly on the visitor center update, and maybe Deborah might mention a little bit more about this. It's pretty much completed. I got one more little thing I'm working on, adding into it. I'm still waiting on a few things from some of our regional partners that I requested from the Roswell Tourism Department and some folks in Alamogordo. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good update. We went almost entirely digital so that we can keep it updated. You know, that was one of the issues that, you know, the paper brochures get out of date real fast. So most of the information that we put in, what I would consider the active interpretation, is all digital. So when you're walking around, you're getting that information. We can change it on a daily basis if we need to. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It definitely is more Ruidoso-centric. You walk in and probably a little bit too much. I walked in the other day, I was like, man, I might need to take some of these signs down because it's right in your face, but it's pretty eye-catching for sure. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So if you guys get down there, I'd love some feedback on that. And like we said, eventually, I think a total renovation of that is needed, but that's going to be something that we need to, really put some thought into moving forward. But I think as far as an update and a refresh, it turned out pretty good. For $8,000, it was a good investment. So yeah. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm good. How are you? So, just real quick, both of our visitor centers are open. If you looked at the stats, but it's been fairly consistent. We did have a lot of more phone calls at our visitor center in April, probably because of the fire. People want to know if we're burning down, and we're still getting them daily. So, but we had a pretty big jump in March just due to the spring break. Billy the Kid walk-in, we had over 900 people in there in March, and then about 500 in April. So it went down a little bit, but not a whole lot. We did 490 visitor bags for groups. So when somebody has a convention, we do visitor packets, and we did 490 of those for January through April. This year they did not request them for the EMS convention, which is good because in the past it's been like 1,000 bags, so we did not have to do those this year. But we do have the new visitor guides in, so we have already, they came in last week, we've probably given out 20 to 30 boxes already, so they look really good, yeah. We are keeping an availability list for Memorial Weekend. Of course, most of the RV parks are booked, not a whole lot available. Cabins and condos are starting to book up. It's kind of weird because one cabin, they'll be completely booked, and then like there's Cozy Cabins that has 40 cabins left, so I don't know, but most of them are starting to book up. And then Billy the Kid Visitor Center, like Tim said, the remodel looks great. I mean, the paint, it wasn't until we started talking about painting it that I started to look at the paint. I was like, oh my God, who picked these colors? But it looks really good now. In the future, it would be good if we could get rid of the mountains. I don't know if you guys have been in there, but the mountains are starting to fall apart, and that's going to take a whole remodel to get rid of those, and then maybe some new carpet. But the new displays, the digital displays look really good, and the paint looks good, and all the new pictures look really good, so if you do have time, stop by and check it out. For the chamber, we're working on the art festival right now. We have, sent out invitations to all of the artists, so we have about, 110 that will be there. It'll be, July 22nd through the 24th. We're really excited. I think it's gonna be a really good show. I think it's gonna be well attended this year. Last year, we had a good turnout last year, but I think it was right during the Delta surge, so it was a little sketchy on whether we should have gone ahead or not, but we did. Yeah. And then Aspen Fest, we are going to do a 2-day festival. It will be October 1st and 2nd, and we're gonna be working with the tourism department, to get some really good music in and kind of do it as a Founders Day Ruidoso Heritage Weekend. We're hoping the Heritage House will be open and we can do ribbon cutting and have some stuff there as well. But I think it's going to be, we're really bumping it up this year. So it's not just going to be the 1-day parade and festival. We're going to do the 2-day festival, kind of along the same lines of Party in the Pines. We're excited about that. Festival of Lights Parade is December 3rd. And then again, Vines and the Pines, next year we're gonna do a President's Day weekend again. So I think that's a good weekend. It's a 3-day weekend. We do get a lot of people that come up for the whole weekend, so. And then we're still doing the radio show on KRUI. I think it's going pretty good. We've had a lot of people on there like Region 9 and Hope Harbor. A lot of the nonprofits have been able to come in. We just had Spencer Theater on there last week with their new summer schedule. High Mountain Youth Project, and then we did a little bit with the New Mexico Forestry, just talking about fire safety and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we've been doing. If anybody has any questions. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll bring back your banner that says parade. Where were we last time? I'm sorry, the parade that we were in?
The Grand Marshal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring that back.
Cool.
I found it in the garage. Christmas?
We had a rough driver on that.
Yeah. Yeah, you like to clear everybody out of the back. Almost ended up on the chief's hood. Big fight at that. But he has some vision. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, tourism update.
Well, I feel like everybody spoke about tourism. As you can see, we have a wonderful team of people, and I cannot thank the people in this town enough for like working with Ruidoso Midtown and the Chamber and how open they've been to partnering and elevating the events that we had. So I think you could hear from, like what Aspen Fest is going to become. It was one thing and now we're just gonna blow it up. And so I wanna thank everybody for being team players for that. One of the first things that we did was Cinco de Mayo, and we were trying to bring diversity in entertainment here because we do have a mixed market that comes here and wants something other than maybe Texas music all the time. So we did Cinco de Mayo, and I don't know if you all knew, but we had to halt there was a decision to halt the advertising during the fire. So we halted it 2 weeks, and we still exceeded, we had 220 VIPs for Little Joe, we sold 240. So we were over the amount. We did a great job. I think we have over 15,000 that will go back into the enterprise fund to go to the next event. And for a first-time event, that's amazing. I'm very, very happy about that. I'm sorry that everybody wasn't there to see it because I think like Tim said, you got Little Joe and Ruben Ramos in there and you had people flooding the dance floor and we did not receive any complaints. Everybody was happy. The ticketing went absolutely perfectly. I didn't hear anything except praises. So I'm excited to do something like that again. Sawmill Trailhead opening was successful. Mayor Crawford was there, and so was Smokey Bear Ranger, Camille Howes, they both spoke. Obviously, this Sawmill Trailhead is vastly important to our tourism because it gives us one more opportunity to get people to enjoy our national forest. And the fact that it was developed and done by eco-servants makes it all the more worthwhile in celebrating it. Party. What? Maybe it was Smokey's cousin. Party in the Pines, this is our big event that's coming up, and it's a two-day festival, and we are in collaboration with Brudoso. So it's going to be entertainment, beer, wine, food vendors, and we are thrilled. We have two co-headliners, Chase Bryant and Pat Green on Saturday, and we have a full roster on Saturday and Sunday for music. Right now, our Party in the Pines, we're well over 13,000 in sales, and we've been running for almost maybe 2 weeks. So we're very excited about that. We're learning from these events, and I think what's interesting is you're hearing that people are, like certain hotels or whatnot are already filling up. So we're learning how to strategize better on how to open these things up to advertising, for example, other hotels that may not be sold out. So we're taking our advertising to the next level. We'll be advertising places where people can find accommodations. The New Mexico State University Film Project will begin on the 28th. They will be here on the 28th and 29th to start shooting. We're doing 8 videos. The first video will be of the Ruidoso Adventure Tour. So they'll actually take the tour and shoot the video for the tour to show people how the tour works and, of course, the prizes. The second video will be shot simultaneous to that, and it will be a general Ruidoso video focusing on different categories. So art, breweries, wineries, resorts, hotels, outdoor recreation. So it'll all be broken down by video. And this will be done by students, top students at New Mexico State under Ross Marks. So we're thrilled about that. The Fire Recovery Co-op with New Mexico TRU, we met with the cabinet. Thank you, Chairman, for being there with us to share in the conversation regarding the narratives that have come out from several news outlets in El Paso that have gone to the negative. So we need to correct that narrative, and thank goodness we have New Mexico TRU behind us. They matched us 1-to-1 for a total media spend of $150,000 on just recovery media. So that media has begun. We were approved yesterday, thank you, council, and the media began today. The New Mexico Tourism Fan Visit to Ruidoso is today. They have 6 people from the New Mexico Department of Tourism visiting Ruidoso. They'll be here at 1 o'clock in council chambers, and they will be doing a presentation to the public to talk about all the offerings that the New Mexico Tourism Department will provide our business community members. After that, we are taking them on an excursion to all our outdoor recreational. They have, I don't want to say what they have in store for them, but it's going to be really fun. And then they will do a tour of Ruidoso Midtown, and then we will be doing a wine tasting at Noisy Water and dinner at Grill Caliente. And something I'm very excited about, we are on board with Buxton Analytics. And our first we started on Thursday, so we will have the report, the analytical report, this Thursday on how Aspen Cache did. So we geo-fenced all the areas where the motorcycles and that demographic should have been or was, and so we'll have actual numbers. So I'm very excited about that. And lastly, the New Mexico TRU Cooperative Marketing Program. I've talked about this before. Carrie and Kelly did a great job in helping me select the different platforms of media that we thought we could use in marketing Ruidoso. And we were very, very pleased to get over $600,000 in media co-op funds from them. So if you match that with our funds that we're putting, plus the recovery funds, we are close to $1 million in media funds for Ruidoso. So we're thrilled about that. Any questions? Oh, I forgot something really important. We are planning an event in September called Ride Ruidoso. So we will have the Golden Cash motorcycle rally. But we were talking to a lot of people that like all kinds of transportation in Ruidoso, whether it be Jeeps or like our friend that does the old bread wagons. What's his name? Rusty Balls. Get everybody involved. So we thought, why not make a weekend of it in Ruidoso? Instead of just having one event, why don't we make it? So we're going to do a benefit weekend event to go to,
Lincoln County Community Foundation, Ruidoso Housing Trust Fund,
yes,
and Shelter Fund.
this just popped up. September,
And one of the approaches that we're taking, Sal and Joe from JNS Productions, they're our promoters that we've been working with. They're donating their equipment for that weekend. And so, we're also starting to look at those big events that are happening, multiple weekends in a row. And instead of just purchasing like the fencing for one time, we purchase it for a couple of different weekends and we leverage it so we won't have, multiple expenses, we just have it one time. So like when we set up for, the 16th, we're gonna leave that whole setup there until we get to the October event, and, it's gonna cut down costs by doing multiple events. So, we're looking at those type of opportunities, and then, as Deborah mentioned, we're gonna be partnering, with them with their event to help elevate the whole event and whatnot. So that weekend of the 16th, there's really gonna be opportunity for different levels of sponsorship. Even the tickets will be, a sponsorship level as you purchase them. And then the proceeds, after we pay for the expenses, will go back to those three not-for-profits. There's already one person that's came in and is wanting to do like a $20,000 sponsorship for that weekend.
Yeah, that's great. And the Buxton, do you want to explain like how that works and what you're gonna be using it?
I can explain it to a degree, and then it would have to be Kelly and Kelly. I've taken my first training class on it. So basically,
It's a little bit different than what the parts we did before, yeah.
it's driven by mobile data. And that mobile data is so, I hate to say it, but it is like, know your phone and know that your phone's information can tell us everything about your household. So in a certain way, it was kind of, I don't know how I felt at first, but then when I watched what the data was, I mean, short of getting Mr. and Mrs. Smith from that data, you are getting the household data. And so we're gonna be able to see what they're spending on, what their hobby, I mean, where they were going while they were here. Did they go biking? Is this an enthusiast for nature, or did this person come here to go to races, or what did their kids do? I mean, it boils down that specific. So that's why we decided to go with Buxton. There were other alternatives that offered, real estate impact and things like that, but this seemed to offer us the most flexibility, and we can target multiple areas at one time. So it was the better choice, I think. Did that answer your question?
Mind-blowing. How much information they have. Crazy.
Like last year when we purchased it, we had the Scout, and there's, different functions that could have used it for, and then that created some kind of,
Tensions.
yeah, the community, so it's like, let's step back and so we're just really getting into the analytical part of it this time. list to approach to.